Hi subscribers and YouTubers. I wanted to do a really quick video today addressing our setup with propane. As you see, our homestead is in the back. Isn't it cool? I love it, love it, love it. But the reason why I want to do it is because a lot of people have a different idea of what off-grid living is. And there are a lot of alternative energy sources out there when you are setting up your off-grid homestead. From solar to hydro to wind to propane and to backup generators to the full use of diesel or gas or solar generators. So there's a lot of options to think about. And because you guys have been following us and seeing what has been working and not working for us, I was just going to show you our use of propane and really why we decided to go with the type of propane and its use, its application, as I'll show you in just a second. The one thing that you really have to consider when you're going off-grid is what's going to work for you. You know, there's a lot of research involved in setting up a homestead, and if you're using that alternative energy source, you really have to think about things like, you know, is solar going to work for me year-round? Do we have enough wind to sustain a wind turbine? You know, if not, do we have a running creek where we can have hydro? Trust me, people, we went through all of those alternative energy sources on our homestead, and this was the best, most economical resource that we found that worked for our setup. So let's go inside and I'll show you the use of propane on our homestead. One of the applications for our propane use is the heating of our water. You know, during the wintertime it's great because we have the wood stove and it heats the water. But during the summertime we love this on-demand water system. We use the 20-pound cylinder tanks as I just showed you, and we've got a very simple setup. It heats the water. The other application is for my cooktop, and we keep a 20-pound gas cylinder in there too. Just a real simple setup. And that way I can cook indoors with my propane. Now my kitchen sink only has cold water. Don't mind the dishes. But we do have another EcoTemp sitting in the box waiting to be installed. And what my husband will do is, again, use a 20-pound cylinder. And I believe he is going to drill a hole through the wall and keep the cylinder outside. And that way I'll finally have hot water in my sink. But again, a 20-pound cylinder is what we chose to use. Propane is, I like the big cylinders. I have an outdoor stove. This is just my personal preference. In the summertime, I don't like to cook inside. And my husband also has a lot of taxidermy projects, and I don't want them on my good stove inside, or at least my good cooktop. So what we ended up doing is getting these a little bit bigger propane tanks because they do last. They last a long, long time. And this way I can do my baking out here. I can do the rest of my cooking without in midsummer when it's 90 degrees heating up that house. The other thing you've probably seen from my canning videos is I've got an outdoor canner set up. I kind of moved this to the side right now, but we also utilize the bigger propane tanks for that. And I'll get this set up with my my table and all my canning jars, and I'll just go to town. Now we're going to talk about why did we decide to use the propane tanks in some of our energy appliances that we have off-grid here.
Well, we decided to use these smaller propane tanks, you know, for many reasons. One of probably the number one reason was installing the big tank, the big 500-gallon or 1,000-gallon or whatever size tank you're going to have, having it installed up at the property. Generally, you've got to have those installed to where the propane guy can get to it with his big truck and fill it up. It's not going to work out in my setting here. And plus, I don't want the propane guy up here.
Yep.
The only people I want on my property is me and you.
Which is me. Hello.
Yeah. I limit this way there's no excuse for the propane guy to come when I wasn't here or this or that. No, nobody's coming here. I'll be in control of when I get the propane, and I'm willing to live with that so-called inconvenience. To me, it's really not an inconvenience. Mm-hmm. Stacy goes to town she has to work a couple days out of the month, whatever. She throws in It's not very often, but I mean, we throw in the cylinders and she can put them in her car. She can handle them. They're light enough to where she can maneuver them around, put them in her car, go to the place where we fill them up. They let you do it yourself there. That's a nice thing. You hook up the nozzle, fill your tank up, and so you get to do your own deal. Come and go as you please. And then also we have with some of our appliances, the way it's set up, we can place the propane tank at where the item is, where the appliance is. We have one outside here, so we set it. We obviously have a bigger one for here, but these we decided to use a couple bigger ones for like our stove that we use outside for a lot of our summer cooking, and then we use them for other applications. She can't do this, or she could if she took a dolly into town and so forth. But I usually do this, and I can still pick these up. These are quite heavy, but I can still manhandle these things up here and get it set in place. And so we're set up for that, and our canner thing is a big thing we use when we're doing that.
And is the cost the same
if you
have?
The cost is the same. At some places or wherever you get, like when you fill up something bigger, you get it cheaper. Whether you buy it in a big that's the same price.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. This way we've got a couple of the cylinders sitting that do have some extra in it that and these last us forever.
Yeah.
So for our application, we like the mobility of having the propane for our indoor-outdoor use. She can handle the tanks, maneuver them around. If I'm gone, she can hook up to the shower or whatever. Some people are like, oh, you shouldn't have the propane tanks inside the house.
What about that? Isn't that dangerous?
I've been doing it for, the bottom line is if your house is on fire, stuff's getting burned up, whatever. A 20-pound cylinder, if it blows up or whatever it's going to do, I guess I'm really not too worried about it. I've been doing this style for probably close to 50 years.
That's a long time. 50 years?
Well, 50 years.
50 years!
30 years.
You were doing it when you were
a kid, baby.
3 years old.
You get my point. I've been doing it this way for a long time. I'm not too worried about it. When you've got the tank in a secured stored area and there's no heat source or sparks getting by it, I'm not worried about it. If in your application, I'm not recommending this to people in your application. If it makes you nervous, you're not worried about it, then don't do it. I don't need the big brother oversight. I'll decide what's safe in my living situation, what's not safe. And so that's how we roll around here. But it works pretty darn slick. And
the other thing is for our application, it's quite small. We're only talking about heating the water only in the summer, and then the cooktop is the only other thing that we have going on right now.
That's it.
So that's
we don't have a backup source of heat for like the wintertime, which we probably will end up getting in the future. I have a couple small propane stoves, and the beauty of having these small cylinders, I don't have like most people have the furnace set up and you got your gas line run to it and it's a planned out thing. I don't want to heat all these. I don't want to heat the whole place. For a backup, I want to have the heat source. If I'm going to need to have that LP propane running, I'm going to have that heat source by my water.
Right.
And so I'll just set my little stove in there and take the cylinder and set it off to the side. Put a barrier between it if I'm not worried about it, a piece of metal.
And what about if the SHTF hits the fan and we can't get any propane? What's our setup?
Oh, I don't know. I think we're going to probably be done. Yeah. Okay.
We could be.
Once again, the whole operation I got going on here, if we don't have propane tomorrow, I'm not going to lose sleep about it. I'm not going to worry. It's not going to affect me at all. We've still got the wood for cooking, if we need to heat water. The wintertime is when the water heating would be more pertinent. In the summertime, you can set some water outside and it heats up out in the sun.
Yep.
So heat, we got it all, it's all covered.
We've got our wood stove.
So whether we have electricity or propane, doesn't matter around here. We've done it before.
We can do it again.
Having these couple luxury items, and that's what they are for right now, is luxury items. If we didn't have them tomorrow,
we'd survive.
Oh well, I guess we survive. We'll have the campfire outside, and like I said before, we're going to be getting we're going to do away with we'll still have the fire pit. We like to have a fire sometimes in the evenings, but we're going to get a barrel stove up here with a flat top on it. I've got it down below right now. We're going to get it set up here with the stack on it, so that sometimes in the summertime we don't want to cook over the campfire. We can be a little more versatile and
we don't have to hook up the propane. I mean, we don't want to use the propane. We're going to have another alternative source for cooking, and
it's just a little bit easier too. When we had the campfire set up, we always had to clean it up at the end of the summer for plowing and so forth. With the barrel stove, we can just pick the whole barrel up with the ashes and everything in it. We can move it to a different site, and we're good. It's just more portable.
All right.
So.
All right. Well, thank you for the the off-grid, self-sustainable information.
Next time.
Okay. All right. So you heard it from the expert why we decided to use the propane tanks, and once again, I will reiterate. We don't depend on it. It is a convenience right now, and if something would happen and we run out of propane, we're set up, people. We are set up. All right. Hope that gave you guys a little bit of information and something to think about on your upcoming, hopefully, dream off-grid setup.